The scale of attractiveness has come back, and let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick, and I saw a post today that, well, frankly, disturbed me to my very core. It shattered me in my boots. I think that's a phrase. It asked a question. A young woman ranted on Twitter about not finding any men attractive. And not that she couldn't find any men attractive, that she couldn't find any of the attractive men. Every man she saw, she was wildly unattracted to. Like, even in the sense that she could not find a man who she found attractive. And it was an odd post, for sure. But it was our dear friends at the Whatever podcast commenting that if she found herself with a man who was her equivalent on the attractiveness scale, she would not find him attractive. And, it turned into the broad question of, is this bad for society? There's a couple of issues playing into this. Number one, a lot of men are failing to develop. This is dating advice, and dating advice for the men in particular. A lot of men are sort of failing to launch, which was a hysterical Matthew McConaughey rom-com of the early 2000s, but it was meant as a joke. Matthew McConaughey lived with his parents and refused to move out, and so they hired, I believe it was Sarah Jessica Parker, to pretend to be his girlfriend so that he would grow up and move out. It ended with a scene, one of the scenes that remains one of my family's favorite scenes to this day, where Matthew McConaughey does grow up and move out, and his dad almost immediately upon him moving out turns Matthew McConaughey's room into what we can only dub a naked room, meaning it's a room where he goes to be naked. And that it's obviously that part is played just purely for the laughs. But in the early 2000s, that was a joke. Like, it was hysterical that late 20s, early 30s man would still be living with his parents. The world's changed quite a bit. Like, quite a bit. Number one, if you look at the way the housing market runs right now, you used to be able to buy a house pretty much anywhere on a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year salary. It's not so much the case anymore. On top of that, you used to be able to find a lot of jobs in the 40, 50, 60 range without specialized training. You could go work down at the factory. You could go work anywhere. Now, granted, there's a lot of misinformation about, for example, trades jobs that you can go get that will pay you a good deal of money when you work them. But young men are refusing or failing to launch. And much like Matthew McConaughey, they're getting stuck. And they're getting stuck at younger and younger ages. They're not even failing to launch. They're not even trying to launch. Like, they never get to the launch point. Like, they never jump, they never leap, they never get out of the nest. And because of that, they're falling prey to more and more of these sort of manhood scam artists, I'm going to call them. The Whatever podcasts of the world, the Myron and Gaines podcast, the Fresh and Fit podcast is who I'm thinking of, Myron and his buddy. Andrew Tate and his stuff in general, they're falling prey to. Because part of manhood, and I'm speaking just for the dudes, but I'm speaking for gay and straight dudes here, like you, whatever your reflection of manhood is, part of launching is establishing yourself as a man. But we're sort of, as a society, boys have sort of regressed, meaning they never get to the point where they get challenged. And I know people are like, oh, well, they challenge themselves in video games. They challenge themselves in other ways. I have such a hard time believing that anything to do with a video game is a real manhood challenge, right? Is a real masculine challenge. And you can tell me all day that it is. I don't. I have such a hard time. There are certain things, I think, as a man, that you have to do to prove yourself. And one of them is simply trying things that are going to get your hands dirty. Now, don't get me wrong. Look at me. I am an actor and a writer. What do I know? I don't exactly have a bunch of bruises on my hands. I could tell you all day that I was a welder and a mechanic, and you don't have to believe me. And if you ask my boss, I wasn't particularly good at either job. But I tried, right? I tried. I drove heavy equipment and made mistakes while I was driving that heavy equipment. I learned. I fought through the mistake. I didn't click a button and get a new life. I started over. I puzzled through difficult things. It may be important for women to do that as well. I'm just not a woman, so I can't speak to that experience. So I feel like what the young woman, to get back to the question I asked at the beginning, I feel like a lot of what the young woman is identifying, that she can't find any attractive man, is that she can't find any men. She's finding a metric crap ton of boys. And boys are an integral part of society. They're how we find our new men for the next generation. But you can't be a boy forever, and you lose out on a lot when you stay that way, and society loses out on a lot. Oh, I'm gonna make some enemies with this point, but let's be honest. We need men in society. We do. And we need everybody. Like, don't get me wrong, we need everybody. But we need everybody in their what they're specifically good at, and we need what men are specifically good at. And yes, someone's going to tell me that manhood is a spectrum of blah, 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 blah. Fine. I will say it. We need the classical men. We need the manly virtues that are spoken of in, like, Greek poetry. Those guys, which is such not a manly way to describe men. But you need the guys who, when everything falls apart, when the chips are down, every cliche you want to think of, we need those dudes. Sometimes you just need that dude, because sometimes the world is mean, and sometimes the world is not nice, and sometimes you just need the guy who's willing to just stand up and smack somebody in the lip. And you're not born that way. You learn it. We're not learning it. We're regressing. And while women are progressing, men are regressing. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's just the case. And I believe that is why the young woman, in her rant, said she can't find any men she's attracted to. It's because most men are falling into a pattern of regression. Frankly, they're just not becoming men. They're failing to launch. Is it really her fault that she can't find anyone she's attracted to? Or men, are we dropping the ball? And if you're a man, you're going to say we're dropping the ball, because you'll actually take the responsibility for the mistake, own it, and try to puzzle through it. Wow, we literally actually got to just about 10 minutes on the dot right there when I take out some pauses and do some creative editing. Hopefully you learned something from today. I know I certainly did not. Go ahead, like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, I suppose you could dislike the video. Just dislike in private, or leave a hateful comment. I listen to them, I learn, and I move forward. Either way, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.